please join me welcome Mr. Michael Mendy, who's going to sit on this side for starters. We would have loved to have, a field panel, but I don't know, for some reason, I think Gambians are just scared of debating and just, going in for that battle of ideas. But I'm very happy that Michael is bold enough. That means that he is pretty much sure of what he stands for, and today he will give us the benefit of the doubt. We also have, going against the motion from the Food Safety Quality Authority, it's going to be Pauline Jiba. Please welcome Pauline. Well, Pauline is going to tell us why we have to keep importing poultry products instead of the local ones here. And of course, we cannot have a debate without a panel of judges. So I have the honor of inviting Mr. Basiru Jata from the Department of Livestock. That's right, okay.
A very good evening to all of you. My name is Michael Mendy. I know many people, when they see me on the screen, they will say, that's him again, talking about poultry product in the Gambia, and he's not a farmer. Today, I am a farmer, and before I am what I am in society, where I work, I am a farmer. And I know some people will see me today, surprisingly, with my product. Let me start introducing my product. I'm a poultry farmer with a capacity of over 2,000 birds, and I produce over 40 crates of eggs per day in different sizes. So I have the first grade sizes that I call extra large, and that's the medium size, and that's the normal size that you get, maybe probably the same size with the imported eggs. Why am I saying that we should cease the importation of eggs in this country? Because we have the potential to produce enough for this country. And I will tell you, I will speak on the eggs, specifically on the eggs, because that's my domain. I don't do broiler meat, and I don't have much information about that. But in terms of eggs, I have figures. So in 2019, local poultry products were able to produce 10 metric tons, over 10 metric tons of eggs on a daily basis. I know in the Gambia, the amount of eggs that is needed for daily consumption is over 200 eggs per day. It's over 200 eggs per day. But, however, the production can be increased or be stimulated based on certain factors. As a producer, definitely there are cost of production, my capital investment. I can only scale up when I have enough capital to scale up. To put up a poultry size of 1,000 birds, I will need about $1 million to put up that structure. That's just the structure, excluding the operation cost. That is the purchase of the chicks themselves, and the feed, and the medication, and the staff salary. So in 2020, the local production have gone over 500,000 metric tons locally. So you see, from 2019, that jump from over 10 metric tons to over 500,000 metric tons. That's half a million metric tons. Obviously, because the market is there, the cost of feed was less in 2020, and other favorable conditions were there. So obviously the production has gone up. In 2021, as poultry farmers, we were hit by avian influenza in Senegal. The Department of Livestock banned the importation of day-old chicks from Senegal, and that's where we source our chicks. Because there's no hatchery here that is enough to supply the farmers. So when we were slapped by that avian influenza in Senegal, and the government said, okay, to save the chicks that are in country, we have to ban the importation. Then we are left with no choice to maintain with the stock that we have. And another thing that hit us was the COVID-19. COVID-19 came, obviously, restriction of movement. Another hit, the price of feed has gone up. Today, as I speak to you, that one bag of poultry feed, 50K, is $1,725. Now, I use 4 bags of poultry feed every day. 4 bags of poultry feed every day to be able to give me 40 crates a day. So if you look at my cost of production just for birds alone, and I have people that I'm paying salary, I have staff that I'm paying salary. So the condition is not favorable for me to expand my production because the cost of feed has gone up. The cost of building materials have gone up for me to put up another structure. Today, the structure that I put in 2022, in 2019, today, if I want to put up that capacity of another 1,000, I need $1.6 million. So, and I can stand here boldly to tell you that I have never gotten able to support from any institution, no government. So, for us to increase, if one single farmer like me is able to boost this production over the years, 2019 I started with just 10 crates. 2019 I started in 10 crates. I would have gone to 100 crates by now, but the cost of production, the capital investment has gone so much that I cannot expand. And there are a host of projects in this country that come into the Gambia to help farmers. But unfortunately, like I always say, I am very infamous when I talk about these things. They say, that's the guy again. When project comes here to help farmers, they give it to interested people. They don't give it to real farmers. And if I present my case, they will say, oh, he's a working class. Why should we support him? So this is the challenge that we are facing. Based on these figures that I have presented to you, the favorable condition in 2020, you see the cost of the increase in production of available eggs. So if the conditions are favorable, if government protect us, if government put a quota, I'm not saying total ban now to the importation of eggs because we cannot supply the entire market. But what have to be done is to encourage us farmers and put up a quota in terms of importation and protect us farmers, support us farmers. And that's why we are here. If we are supported, obviously we will produce and our products are more healthy. If you believe that we should increase the production, import eggs, bring the imported eggs and test it. We do the test now. We break the eggs, your eggs and the imported egg, and I break my egg and we see it. We cook it here, boil it here, and we test. For us to have a safer food for better health, we have to increase domestic production.
Of course, we are still staying because we would obviously bring in more questions. So that means now I have to call on Pauline to come and tell us why exactly we should not cease the importation of poultry products in place of local products.
Pauline Chiba is my name, and I strongly stand to oppose the suggestion that importation of poultry products should be banned in the Gambian setting in place of the local products. I've got reasons to back up my argument. But before I go on forward, I want to discuss that food is very vital and impacts every part of our daily lives, ranging from education to health to agriculture to climate change to empowerment to development. On that note, I want to run down to a definition, an FAO definition of food security. The food security represents the economic and the physical access to food items by every person for their own optimum health. On that note, I want to justify the reason why I said that the importation of poultry products should not be banned in the Gambia. First of all, I want to congratulate and thank my opponent for that beautiful presentation. But developing on his own presentation, how many of his likes are we having in the Gambian setting? He is 1 out of 1,000. And then we know that the capacity of poultry production in the Gambia has not yet been industrialized, such that local producers will be able to supply the entire Gambian population. And he centered his argument on eggs. I want to raise this argument also, that eggs are not the main and only product of poultry. When we come to the local consumption in the average Gambian context, we talk about the poultry meat. And the poultry meat is a source of protein, which, as we're talking now, has replaced the supply, the protein supply that we have from fish, because of the fact that the fish in our market is very expensive. How much does the average Gambian earn? When you compare a kilogram of fish, compared to a kilogram, the cost of a kilogram of poultry, you realize that it is cheaper for a family size of 10 to consume or to afford the poultry product, the imported poultry product, as compared to the fish or compared to the local poultry product. This is one of my arguments. And I also want to discuss the implications of banning, the trade implications of banning the importation of poultry products. Gambia has been a signatory because we have ratified the WTO agreement. And then coming up with an idea of banning the importation of poultry products will now be a technical barrier to trade. Because the WTO is the organization or the global organization that is responsible for the rules of trade between nations. Now, where do we justify, where do we base our argument when we come up with flimsy excuses of saying that the Gambian market has been saturated by the global market? As such, we need to put a ban on the importation of poultry products. I think that decision is immature. Also, I want to discuss the public health implications attached to banning the importation of poultry products. We all know that poultry products are a good source of protein, and we know how vital protein is to the health of every human being. We have so many cases of malnutrition, and then the banning of poultry products in the Gambia will now bring a resultant effect of malnutrition, particularly protein malnutrition. Time and again we have been sensitized. We have come across information. We have come across data that shows that the low intake of nutrients impacts development. The low intake of nutrients impacts social health. The low intake of nutrients, particularly in the case of protein, would impact the structural well-being or the human growth of every human being, especially when it comes to issues of reproduction. Because we realize that malnutrition causes stunting in children, and this will end up affecting the IQ of those children. It will end up damaging or slowing the developmental process of those children. And these are the same children that we're depending on to become leaders for our future. So I want to say that if the importation or if the ban has to be suggested, it must not be immediate. These are things that we have to focus in the next 50 years to come. Whilst Gambia put its house in order, put in place structures, put in place mechanisms that will be able to create the atmosphere whereby the Gambian local market or local producers can supply the needs of its people. But if not so, we are running into a nutritional genocide in our own era, and we will live to explain to our generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, I've been told that we have two other people who are going to join us as well. So I am going to call on Musanget, who's from the School of Public Health, to also join us here. And Musanget is going to speak for the motion, right? Against the motion. Musanget, where are you? Okay, that means you have to join the lady over there. And then we'll have Mr. Sehu Drame, who's also going to speak for the motion. So we have 2 for and 2 against. Mr. Manny, first of all, before I open the floor for both of them to come, you mentioned that you are not saying entirely that they should actually, cease the importation of local poultry products, right? But they should give local producers a chance. Do you have what it takes in terms of infrastructure and just making sure you have the safe environment in the production of these products? Please come forward and give us how.
Okay. Yes, the infrastructure is there for us to produce. I'm not talking about myself. My colleague farmer is here. Fatu Jalo, and I know she also has a capacity to produce more than what I am producing. And I know some farmers, like Mohammed Sanya, has over 30,000 birds, and one guy has over 100,000 birds. So once you have 30,000 birds, should be able to give you more than 200 crates of eggs per day. So if projects goes to farmers that are actually doing farming or poultry production, not those who are interested, and because they are interested and we are going to support them, but you support the ones that are actually there to increase their production, definitely we will boost the local production, that we don't need to import this poultry product. I will agree that it's not going, I always say it's not an immediate ban or cease of poultry production, but it should not take more than 50 years, as my colleague debater said. It should be a space of 2 years that we will be able to produce what Gambia needs. We are a population of,
So the question was whether you have a safe environment.
We definitely,
for the production of these products.
We have a safe environment. Like I said, take my egg today, buy my egg, this is 300, this is extra light, yeah? And these eggs can give you 2 yolks. This one can give you 2 yolks. No imported eggs can give you those 2 yolks.
Okay, we need
okay? Yeah. And obviously, the safe environment is there because our weather is very comfortable for poultry production. And there's a standard design of poultry structures. You follow that, the environment is safe, and you follow the vaccination calendar. That is safe. And what the imported eggs is done, they give them a lot of hormones. Within 21 days, it's sent to the market. And there's health implication with those hormones that they give them.
Okay, the panel of judges are here. And I understand that you're dealing with eggs and not meat, so yes, that's fine. I'm going to go on to ask Pauline one question before we move on, right? You mentioned cost, that the imported products are cheaper. And looking at our, our country and our situation, you have people who would rather opt for those than the ones we're producing. What do you think could be the justification for this law in cost? Could it also not be that these people have a shortcut to maturity of their products?
My comparison is not based on the international market. My comparison is local. The comparison of the cost of the poultry product as against the fish product, because these two elements are key sources of protein in our daily diet. So my comparison was based on this because you realize that the average Gambian family of 7 cannot afford to get the source of protein from fish because the fish is way expensive. You need to get $500 or minimum $250 to get that fish that will, give you the servings that you need of protein. But compared to the kilo of meat product, of the poultry product, or like, let's say, a kilo of eggs, or let's say 10 eggs, you realize that the cost is minimal as compared to that one. Coming to your question, whether they had a structure, I want to say no, it will not be that. The reason could be because they have a bigger market. Because production is at a large scale. And because production is at a large scale, then you realize that there is so much supply. And when there is so much supply, obviously the cost of items will not skyrocket. It has to be minimal for everyone to be able to access and afford.
We'll leave it to the panel of judges once again. But at this juncture, I am going to call on the second set of the debaters. Sehu is going to come, of course. Sehu Drame from Standards Bureau to debate for the motion.
All right, good evening to you all. I am Sekou Drame, Standard Officer for Food and Agricultural Products at the Gambia Standards Bureau. So I am going to focus my argument around a few points that I think are very relevant as to why I believe the Gambia should cease the importation of poultry products in place for local products. So looking at the rate at which entrepreneurs are emerging in the Gambia, you can quite agree with me that there is no doubt that the issue of addressing the rising demand of poultry products can be addressed by the entrepreneurs in the country. Because let's say, for instance, I give you an example of MPAS. Looking at their capacity of poultry products that they're able to produce in a month, compare that to the amount that is demanded for in the country, the difference between the two quantities is insignificant per se, because the Gambia needs about 2 million poultry products in a month, and MPAS is able to produce around 1 million. Then you can see that in addition to MPAS, other poultry producers that are like my brother here, if you sum their quantity up, then the poultry producers, the local poultry producers will be able to meet the rising poultry demand for poultry products in the country. So my first point that I will base my argument on is the fact that every poultry product that is imported in the country is a job loss to the country, because looking at our poultry industry, we have entrepreneurs or poultry producers with the potential of meeting our demand. So if we have other products that are coming from other countries to replace our local products, then you will realize that it's kind of creating a job loss to our local producers. And looking at the potentials of our local poultry production, it's kind of create employment opportunities to youth. Looking at the projections of youth unemployment in the Gambia, we have about 12.44% of youths that are unemployed in the Gambia. So in addition to that, if projections are read right, you will realize that that number might increase to around 15 or 20 or thereabout percent. So if poultry products importation of poultry products are ceased for now, the issue of unemployment in the country will be addressed, because you will have people with the capacity, the willingness, and the knowledge and the know-how to venture into poultry production, to be able to create job for themselves and others that they are going to employ as well. So in addition to that, if the importation of poultry products is seized in the Gambia, it's going to create income for the locals, as well as those that are going to be employed around, and it will in turn alleviate poverty, because of the fact that you have people with the potential to venture into poultry production, but because they don't have the financial backing to help them achieve their goals in the poultry sector, they are unable to venture into the business. But then if they are supported in a way, it will kind of create employment as well as way of generating income for them and elevating poverty as well. So if poultry products are also seized, it will also create a way of addressing our increasing demand in poultry products as well. So all in all, that's some of the reasons that I believe are key that should prompt the Gambia to cease the importation of poultry products in the country for now.
Thank you. That was Sehu Drame from the Standards Bureau. I now call on Musanget from the School of Health to go against that motion that we should not cease the importation of poultry products.
I am Musanget from the School of Public Health, here going against the motion that we should not ban poultry products in the Gambia to use local products. It baffles me that my co-debaters are always basing their arguments on mere assumptions, but not on facts. Because we believe that as an individual, before you come up with an argument or a ban, you must do what we call a situational analysis of that particular issue before you can raise concerns or issues that we should ban poultry products in this country. As a country, we equip with certain academic institutions. I believe we should think about how to keep those academic institutions to be able to man the poultry products we want to have in the country. That doesn't mean that having the poultry products in the Gambia when our academic institutions are not yet equipped to manage those poultry products in the Gambia. You go into the University of the Gambia and in the Gambia College, where we have the School of Agriculture, you can realize that somebody is recruited who can go for 4 years or 3 years without even having a practical knowledge on how to manage poultry products. So how do you expect a country like the Gambia to go on food self-sufficiency when actually in 2014 in Europe, only France was able to attain food self-sufficiency? Did you ask yourself why only France in Europe? And then why do you just want to jump and say Gambia should actually ban food self-sufficiency? And secondly, as a country, are we technologically oriented or technologically keen to ban the importation of poultry products in the Gambia? Only to rely on local products. How many of the Gambians are into poultry products, and how many of the Gambians are inclined in terms of knowledge how to manage and deal with poultry products in the Gambia? If you ask yourself, do you have that data? You should actually bring up such agreements before you can raise a concern that we should go ahead and ban poultry products in the Gambia. Then another point, if I may ask you, what is the food self-sufficiency ratio as a country, where production, importation, minus importation? What is the food self-sufficiency ratio of the Gambia? Which, if not attained or if not done on this side, I see no reason why we should be here to back yourself and we should ban food here in the Gambia as a country. Then, finance. You is sometimes very good because you are saying that we are not financially stable to have that done. Then why are you advocating when you don't have it? Why do you bring up that advocacy? So I believe that we should actually work on getting poultry products, which is not only limited to the egg that you brought here, but all other poultry products like meat in the Gambia. We're trying to see how best to equip our system to be able to stand against any issue regarding poultry or related issues in the Gambia that just jump into the conclusion that we should actually have what it banned without any argument or any evidence-based argument. Because policies must be backed by evidence. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we will, of course, open for the public to bring in their comments. But first, before I ask these two their questions, I would like to call on Mr. Mendy once again to come and respond to the comments of Pauline. I know you can't wait.
Trust me, I can't wait. Panel of judges and distinguished guests again, I'm back. I want us, my co-debaters, I want us to learn from other countries. I know Gambia is part of WTO. I know Gambia is part of the ECOWAS trade, which talks about free movement of persons, goods, and services. However, Senegal have done it in 2025 when Europe was hit by avian influenza because their domestic production was, how will I call it, was increasing. When their domestic production increased, they saw an opportunity to stop the importation of poultry products. And once they do that, obviously, investors saw an opportunity and they went and invested. And then Senegal today is not only supplying the Gambia in terms of poultry products like feed and chicks, but they are supplying other neighbors, Guinea-Bissau, Mali. So, if you listen to my argument, I said it's not an immediate ban, but it should be something that we should think about in the very near future. Because if conditions are favorable, obviously investors will come and invest. So, Netherlands, you cannot take neither poultry product nor dairy product into the Netherlands. And they are members of WTO. Go and check your facts. They are members of WTO. Every country has to protect its local industry if we want to stimulate growth, economic growth. So for us to stimulate our economic growth, we have to protect the local industry. And the local industry should be supported. If it is supported, obviously the production will increase. My other co-debater talks about nutrition, protein. eggs give you protein. I don't think there's a better protein from eggs than any other protein. In fact, research has shown that for a child's intelligence to increase, he needs to take some yolk. And you talk about fish. Now, it's a matter of choice. Getting what they call locally white fish here, good fish, you need 500. 2.5 kilo of chicken is sold at 250. But people will prefer to buy the imported legs that are frozen and defrost, and come and eat it, and we have food poisoning. Do we want to continue in that?
Okay, thank you.
No, give me 1 minute.
Okay, you have 30 seconds to wrap it up.
Yes. Now, I did not just jump and said, if you, as coming from an academic institution, said that we don't have qualified people to man the poultry industry in this country, then the School of Agriculture in the University of the Gambia and the Gambia College where you belong should be closed. Should be closed. Yeah, because if those people graduating with certificate in livestock production and health are not qualified to run poultry industry, then the college should be closed because the education is not relevant to the industry. It is not relevant. So I think the Gambia College, from what you are saying, and coming from the School of Public Health, supporting the idea of increasing the importation of eggs baffles me. And finally, financial support that you talk about. The financial support, if it is there, obviously the production will increase. But if an individual has started producing over the period of 4 years and no single support, and he's continuously increasing, what if he gets support? In 2020,
there's lack of capacity. If I may just come in there.
Yes.
You have, some sort of capacity issues in the industry, which is making you unable to be able to produce what's needed for the country. Wouldn't you link that to what you said about the lack of capacity?
No.
Which capacity are you talking about here?
No, he's talking about the institution, that is Gambia College, or he's saying the capacity is not there to man this poultry production in the Gambia. Yeah. So obviously if the capacity is not there to man the poultry production, then the School of Agriculture in the Gambia College, that is running the program of agriculture production and health, should be closed.
Is the capacity there or not?
I think the capacity is there because I recruited students from the School of Gambia College to man my poultry in 2019. He knows the guy, bless. He was one that I started running the poultry up to date. He left for university, but I continue to recruit people from the School of Agriculture.
All right, so what is the number one issue, if you may just close it with that?
The number one issue is you have to put a quota in the importation for now and support the local industry.
All right, thank you. We'll put a pause to that and then invite Polly to also react to some of the comments made by Mr. Mendy here.
I want to make some clarifications as regards to the presentations from my colleagues, fellow debaters. He mentioned an issue concerning unemployment. He said the Gambian settled, the youth folk are unemployed. And one of the solutions will be to the ban on the importation of poultry products will serve as a solution or as a savior to the problem or the crisis of unemployment amongst the youth. I want to ask, is this not funny? For we get employed to earn income or to gain income. Now, how can you, the unemployed, how can you, the unemployed youth, now begin a process or begin a business that needs over 100,000? You made mention of, good sum of money that you need to be able to really get you settled in the business. Now, someone that is seeking employment to earn income, you want to tell me that the ban on the poultry products will now create an avenue for employment? How is this possible? I want to say it's a funny situation. That is not the solution to the issue of unemployment among the youth. And I agree, yes. A colleague of mine, a fellow debater said that eggs are a good source of protein. I do not dispute the fact that eggs are a good source of protein. What my point was that the number of eggs that the Gambia consume is so much that the ban on the importation of poultry products, inclusive of eggs, will now cause the population to run insufficient of that egg supply, because the people that are operating, or the local producers, cannot supply the market with sufficient or enough eggs. This is why I made the scenario as regards to eggs. Yes, I agree, eggs are a good source of protein, the poultry meat is a good source of protein, but then a good number of these are being consumed because they have been imported. If you compare the imported poultry products to the local products, you realize that even the local products are more expensive. Is it sustainable? If it is not sustainable, then we are running into food insecurity. And this is why I made reference to the public health disease burden. Because when people consume food inadequate, if there is inadequate intake of protein, then the disease burden on the human population is very high. Then we have overstretched health system. And this, at the end of the day, will improve the development of the nation.
Just to come to that point of the support for more employment opportunities by posing the ban, and you mentioned this is almost impossible. Does that also raise the question of government, like one of the speakers mentioned, taking active role in making sure that the local producers are boosted?
Government has already begun, because we have had a lot of sensitization on entrepreneurship, and we have seen the year project supporting youth. I'm not saying no that the local producers must not be supported, but then the solution to unemployment is not the ban on poultry products. They can't use that as an excuse. Yes, the government must come on board. Yes, the locals must come on board, but then there is no justification of saying it's because of the local products that are being imported. This is why we have the population that is unemployed. So this is my argument.
But is it not safer to save the public or the health system that you mentioned, the burden of taking care of all these, how do they call it again, foodborne illnesses, and then, further invest in making sure that our local production is being boosted, and save the government the burden of further investing in these health systems to take care of this huge burden?
That question is further whetting my appetite for the argument, because I want to believe Gambia is a signatory to the WTO agreement, and if any food has to be imported, specific standards must have been met as per the Codex Alimentarius. And I want to believe, if I'm given the opportunity, I would want to say that I feel that the imported would be even more safer than the local, because the measures that are being applied on this imported poultry before importation are not the same measures that are applied on our local products.
All right, I'll put a pause to that and come back to that later. Thank you so much. And now we would come to ask, of course, before I bring the last two, if you have any comments that you want to make now before we move.
But we are also seeing an increase in diet-related non-communicable diseases as a result of our diet and our lifestyle. For the diet, it has something to do with how diversified our diet is. And we cannot get diversified diet without assuring food security. Food security in terms of access, availability, stability, and consumption. This is a very healthy debate between for and against. As a country, we want to grow. We want our industry to grow. Although we live in a global world where we have to trade with other partners, but we also have to safeguard our own local industry for us to meet our demand. My concern is how conscious are we of the type of imported poultry that are coming to the country? How are they produced? Are they produced in the most appropriate way? Sometimes we understand that the poultry that are coming to the country are all complex. And in public health, or in those who do new immunization mostly you immunize the left leg, or left hand. How safe are those left legs that are coming into the country. The question I wanted to ask is, how ready are we to meet the demand of poultry in this country? Can our local industry assure us when they can provide enough eggs and poultry meat to meet our demand? That's our concern. Because for us as a country, let me put my missionary cap on. If by the advice, every individual should consume about 3 eggs in a week. If you multiply 3 eggs a week by 52 weeks, multiply by about 2 million, we expect to have about 300 million eggs annually in this country. Can we produce that amount of eggs in this country? Yes, diet diversification, we don't only have to look at poultry meat as a source of protein. Fish is there, granite is there, beans are there. All this can substitute each other. If we put in a moratorium to limit the amount of imported poultry, it will help our local industry to grow. It will create employment for our youth. Because these are things that we have to also bear in mind as a country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is Nyakasi Sanyan, and I'm from the Gambia Bureau of Statistics. I'll try to be brief and to be neutral as well. As a statistician, I was expecting, to hear figures, facts being backed by figures here, but I didn't hear that. My concern is that obviously all that we want to see is for the importation of poultry products to be seized in this country. That is best for us for a number of reasons, health-wise, economic-wise, it's better for the country. But statistics shows that I just look at the past 5 years, and the increase and the importation of poultry products has been on the increase. It was only in 2020 when it went down slightly and picked up again in 2021 and also in 2022. This means that if importation of poultry product is seized, there will be an unmet demand. How do we take care of this demand? And the fact is, locally produced poultry are more expensive. This is why you have poultry products produced in this country, but they are not being consumed as the imported one. I think the problem should be looked around the cost of production. How do we support our local producers? How do we empower them so that the cost of production is reduced and the average Gambian is able to buy and consume the local products? Thank you.
Dr. Olawale from University of the Gambia. Yes, I want to just add a few points to say that Rome wasn't built in a day. If we can take clues, we are talking about importation. Can't we learn from those countries that we want to import from? They have enough to import. Why can't Gambia also produce enough to give to other countries? That's one of my points. One of the arguments has been about gainful employment. I knew a particular Gambian studied abroad up to master's level in poultry, came back to the country and became jobless, not able to do something. But this is a skill gap which he can easily get within 2-3 months and be self-subsistent on his own. So the capacities are always there for people to learn, and then we can always meet the target if everything is put in place. And then before I came here, I did some research to know what the quality of the eggs that are being brought into this country. And then we realized that some of these eggs are not of the quality of the local standards. In fact, some countries see developing countries like the Gambia as a dumping site, just like the egg and some other products that we import from those countries. So we need to put our heads together. We can do it, I believe. I learned about Philippines. Philippines made a decision to start local production, and today, Philippines is a net exporter of poultry products. Thank you.
I am Ali Joe from the Point newspaper. So how can she justify, you know, her belief that the female debater, that he believes or she believes that foreign products are safer and more healthy than our local products, considering the fact that, you know, we don't know where these products are being made and how they are being made, the process, you know, they do undergo. So, especially on the fact that, you know, there have been videos online which shows that the devastating process, you know, process of making these things, you know, they are very, very, very unhealthy and, you know, very devastating. So how can you justify that these things, even from physical examination and assessment, you can see that perhaps these things are not healthy. From physical assessment and observation, these things seem to be not healthy. So how can you justify your belief that outside products are more healthy than our local products?
Good evening, everyone. I am a poultry consultant. This is my livelihood that we are talking about. This is not an academic issue. People are saying people went to college and they cannot do poultry. Fine, they went to college, they didn't learn poultry. I taught people poultry in 3 months. And I have testimony here. We have people in this country who have been trained and given 500 chicken. You know how much they earn every 2 months? If they just stick to the 2 months timetable, they are earning $25,000 every 2 months. I think there is a potential if we encourage the young ones to see that they can have a living out of poultry, they can fulfill their aspirations of having families, of building houses, and having their cars, going out for weekend and enjoying themselves. This is possible. We are looking at a $4.8 billion industry that we are leaving to lie idle. I think it's high time we get up and forget about all of this. Before 1998, we are not importing any poultry. We are having our poultry. I'm born and bred in Banjul. In New Primate Street, my mom used to have a chicken coop where she goes and gets eggs, crack it, and make omelette. I know it's small, but we used to enjoy that small strip of omelette. And she used to take chicken from that same coop and slaughter it. Okay, so and we jubilate. We end up having the head and the legs, but at least we are doing it. So there is no way, I mean, what we are fearing, there is no need to fear. We learn from it. It doesn't take us more than 6 months for the meat issue to be solved. Even the eggs, it cannot take more than 6 months. I know there is a need for us to sit down as a nation and discuss it and know how we are going to go about it. But the need for a ban, for me, is a must.
Thank you very much. I would like to start by complimenting the efforts of food safety for coming up with such an important initiative. Also, will congratulate and motivate the participants here debating with regards to ceasing the importation of poultry in the country. Yeah, I think it is, we need to be very careful when it comes to ceasing the importation of poultry in the country. Because looking at the importation of poultry products in terms of poultry eggs and meat, importation per percentage is almost 85% imported poultry products to the Gambia. Meaning Gambia is only accounting for 15% of poultry products domestically. And looking at the consumption of eggs in the Gambia as per daily consumption, we are consuming almost 200,000 eggs daily in this country, which almost 3,430-something thousand eggs are imported, which means Gambia is only accounting 1% of that figure. So I think the solution here is to advise government and other relevant stakeholders that are within the poultry sector value chain to strengthen the production and productivity of sector players in terms of equipping them, in terms of supplying inputs, materials so that they can boost and increase their production level and capacity before thinking of ceasing the importation of poultry in the Gambia. All right, I just want to give a scenario. We can draw our attention 2 years to 3 years back when importation of poultry was seized. We see how Gambians suffered in terms of accessing poultry products. And also we see the increase in terms of poultry feed prices compared to the recent. So I think Gambia should work on our capacity first so that we can boost our production level before thinking of ceasing. Though we can put mechanism to give access to the players so that they can access market and other avenues in terms of incentives. Basically, there is no time, but I will, yes.
Thank you so much for those valid points. Please, a round of applause for everyone else. Those are the important points. And we want to start going to some of those questions with that. And that brings me back to the last set of speakers. I'm going to start off with Get. I believe your team has agreed that before the products reach here, they go through some safety guidelines. Someone mentioned that, how sure are we that this happens? Because what I've also found out is other countries have placed a ban on the importation of poultry products because they realize that there's usually not enough scrutiny that is done throughout this process. And some of these illegal smuggling is what results to break in cold chains, which obviously contributes to the buildup in microbial loads. And this eventually causes unhealthy population. So what processes are there to ensure quality? Would you say, and maybe your partner can also add on to that because she's from the Fsqa, are these systems really scrutinized to make sure that what is being sent into the market is fit and healthy for consumption?
When I say that the Gambian College and the University of the Gambia, I'm not saying that they are not qualified. But technically, they are not equipped to take care of quality and poultry products.
You were going to come to that later. First, answer the question.
Yes, coming to your question, going to his argument and answer your question. That is, how can we take care of that? Is to make sure that our academic institutes are well equipped to train ourselves. Because people are only trained on how to make the money, but the poultry owners are not trained on health and safety of the product that they're producing. How many of them know how they can test the egg using the candle or the waters of mercury to make sure that that egg that they're producing is fit for human consumption? How many of them know that? No, or they feel know that. But they mostly train on how to make money out of this, but not the health and safety of people. So for us to do that, we must keep our academic institutions. Now, coming back to Michael debate, I was very happy that somebody raised this question of how do we know whether those poultry products that we are bringing into this country are actually, how are they produced? Which boils down to capacity building. Because we cannot know that when the capacity that we should help us know that it's not there. That must be there. So, coming to the academic institutions, for example, University of the Gambia, there is no poultry farm for University of the Gambia. All the academics are based in classrooms. And then watching YouTube videos, but practically the students are not exposed to those things. Coming to the Gambia, the poultry farm is now a capital also.
Let me just come there. Remember the speaker said that they do have the capacity and that he's trained some of the students. They've been exposed to safety measures. Isn't that what you said? So the question here is that some of those eggs or these eggs that have been imported have to go through a certain condition to make sure they're well kept. But when there is break in these cold chains, this is where it becomes unhealthy for consumption. So this is the argument now. They said that the people have been trained. But of course, when you allow importation, there is breaking of that in cold chains.
Yes. People have been trained, but the low human resources available in the Gambia is not there to help make sure that all those businesses are supported. Looking at the food safety and quality assurance authority, they're doing their best, but people feel that they're not doing anything because of what they feel that so many things happening. How can they cover the whole country? Because of what? There is less human resources available there. But if they were well human resources, or
these challenges will not be a problem as we are as a country today.
Okay, you will have a chance for conclusion and you can add some of those points to that. And I will come back to you, Drame. Nice. So Drame, obviously the issue of whether they can trust local producers enough to unleash this burden on you begs the question, what are the chances of poultry farmers excelling if there were to be a ban on importation?
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. I will kind of address your question with one of his assumptions, I will call it, that okay. Like his assumption that there is no capacity in terms of academic institutions, creating or training students to be able to properly manage poultry. Mind you, despite the fact that the Gambia College, for instance, did not have the infrastructure in place to train students, they also have other means of exposing students to practical aspects of poultry production. I was a student of the Gambia College, and I was exposed to some of this. One of our judges here was a student there, and he can attest to the fact that despite lack of infrastructure, there are ways that the college do to make sure that students are exposed to the practical aspect of poultry production. So I think your assumption is something that is baseless when it comes to exposing students to the practical aspect of poultry production. So now someone also commented asking this question: when is the poultry producers ready to meet the demand when there is a ban in the importation? As my colleague mentioned earlier, we are not saying that the poultry products that are imported into the country should be banned immediately, but it's a process that requires to put in place several other important factors. We need intervention of government to come in where entrepreneurs are having difficulties in making sure that they achieve their goals. Government should support poultry producers in terms of financial support, infrastructural supports, and capacity buildings and things like that. If all those factors are put in place, I strongly believe that the issue of meeting the rise in demand for poultry products in the country will be addressed.
A round of applause for all the speakers. Thank you so much. Before I give them a chance to conclude, we've reached that part now. I'm going to take two more questions. Do we have anyone from this side? I didn't see any hand from this side. So I wanted to give chance again. No? One over there, yes, we have one.
I have a quick question and just a quick comment as well. In relation to the safety of imported poultry products, I just want to ask if any research has been done on it since they started, because sometimes there are assumptions on certain things, so whether research has been done. And also in relation to protection, I think it's something that needs to be evidence-based. Proper situational analysis and studies need to be done on a sector before you protect. Because we are finding out that, for instance, in the cement market, there are industries here or companies that have been protected for over 2 decades. Until today, they are still asking for protection. And we have realized that in markets like those, whenever the imported products don't come in, the players locally jack the prices up so much that it's unaffordable. Because business people are not here for charity as well. So as long as there is not enough supply in the market, the consumers will always be at risk. Thank you.
I would want to wrap up my presentation with an answer to my opponents who strongly support that there should be a cessation or a ban to the importation of poultry products. They made mention or they made reference to my statement as saying that the imported products are more safer than the local products. I have my justifications. We've got trays of eggs before us, and I want to say that most of these local products are not subjected to laboratory tests. It's from the farm to the table. How do we determine the microbial load? How do we determine the chemical residue in these poultry products, as compared to these products that are coming from outside the country. As per the trade laws, making reference again to the WTO agreements, that every consignment of these imported products are accompanied by certifications that must meet the Codex Alimentarius requirement. So based on that evidence, these are not assumptions, based on that evidence, and based on my experience with the authority that I work for, I want to believe that assurance is guaranteed with the certification of these imported consignments of poultry products. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Poli. I'd like to invite Mr. John to give his closing remarks, 2 minutes.
Yeah, so I will conclude putting more emphasis on the issue of public-private partnership, because I think it's an essential element in making sure that we address our rising, or we meet the rising demand of poultry products in the country. Because if you see, our opponents are saying we should not, it's because they have doubts in the potentials of the local poultry producers. But I believe if all grounds are set for them, I have no doubt that they have the potentials to meet the increasing demand of poultry products. I give you a scenario of myself. I am an entrepreneur. I do crop production in URA. Despite the fact that I struggle to make ends meet within my area without having support from projects or the government, I am able to produce a quantity that cannot be consumed by the market in Basse anytime I do my harvesting. Looking at that situation, if I am supported to increase my capacity, I can extend to other, other regions as well. So the same situation surrounds poultry producers, since we are all into the food business. Despite not having support from government or any other institution, they are struggling to produce good amount of poultry products. So I believe if they are supported, there is high chance that the issue of demand would be addressed. Yeah.
Thank you so much. A round of applause. I'd like to invite Get to come forward.
Situational analysis research on issues before coming up with this argument, because all the arguments are just based on assumptions. How so are we that students are trained on the recent technologies needed in poultry production? How so are we that it's all based on arguments? We are not saying that the Gambia College or university students are not there, but we are saying that the technology that they are using currently is archaic and it should be well updated to make sure that poultry production is actually happening in this country.
UCMAS, Universal Concept of Mental Arithmetic System.
8 minus 5, 2, 2 minus 7, 1, 8, 6, 2, 2, 5, 7, 7, 5 minus 2. That's it? 6 minus 1, 4 minus 9, 8, 1 minus 8 minus 1, 5, 2, 2, 6, 3, 1, 8. That's it?
27.
The quiz show aims at gradually erasing the apprehension that many children have for arithmetic. It also seeks to enlighten children, teachers, and parents on the fact that the brain has the capacity to solve arithmetic problems faster than a calculator.
Five, 1, 1 minus 7, 9 minus 5 minus 2 minus 2, 3, 1 minus 4, 8 minus 5 minus 2 minus 1, 3, 1, 8, 8, 5, 2. That's it?
27.
UCMAS, Universal Concept of Mental Arithmetic System.
The Open Governance Initiative, a GRTS, Government of the Gambia and UNDP program is back on your TV screens. In season 1 of the OGI, I've been joined in the studio by key players in our governance space. the guests were different. So were the varying topics of our discussions.
Where we don't have a Gambian mission physically present, we have honorary consuls in some of these capitals, and they represent the Gambia's interest.
The ministry in our settlement of land dispute is engaging communities in terms of clarifying what land ownership can be. Land ownership, you can only own land in 4 different ways.
And we have been to the regions and have seen up close how government is encouraging citizen engagement in governance.
This forum should be a continuous process. It shouldn't stop only on this. We can be doing it at least every 6 months so that they will understand. As I said, before paying tax, you have to understand why are you paying tax?
Because there are certain cases, you see, that we cannot just stop them at police level. They have to go to court. But sometimes we engage community policing to ensure that the community that we are serving are fully reassured.
Open governance on GRTS is meant to promote regular communication between duty bearers and citizens. So in the coming weeks, I'll be joined in the studio in turns by public sector leaders from government ministries, departments and agencies. My first guest this season on the show will be the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Mr. Abdoulaye Jallow. And the discussions will center around the Gambia's economy, policy issues from macro and macroeconomic